Ah, ah, ah. It's Shawn Michaels. I like Shawn Michaels. Do you like Shawn Michaels?
Yeah, like Shawn Michaels. Why do you gotta start off like that?
Oh, because that's
Yes, I
Shawn
like
Michaels'
Shawn
theme
Michaels.
song.
That's what it was. I thought we were doing. I was like, oh, wrong episode. We must have been doing the Sunny episode.
This is the Sunny episode. But yeah, Michael Shawn Hickenbottom, better known
Yeah.
as Shawn Michaels. Pretty much my favorite WWE superstar, my favorite WWE legend, the person who made me love WWE in a SmackDown versus Raw 2007. That's when I first heard from him. What can you say about him? Like, when was the first time you've ever heard about Shawn Michaels? Or like,
Yeah, yeah. So I started watching wrestling in general when I was 4 years old. Mainly watching Monday Night Raw, and that's when I saw Shawn Michaels. And the first distinctive memory of Shawn Michaels I have is a legendary rivalry he had going on with the immortal Hulk Hogan. The most crazy pay-per-view of all time, SummerSlam 2005.
the
We have
best SummerSlam main
overselling.
event?
We have overselling. We have custody matches. We have Randy Orton versus John Cena. I guess
I
that's
think he had
crazy.
Muhammad Hassan in that too. Oh no,
Exactly.
he actually was supposed to have a match with Batista, but then he got fired.
Poor guy.
Man,
But anyway, Shawn Michaels, man. This dude, amazing career. Uh yeah, I first saw him with that Hulk Hogan rivalry, and I was like, man, this dude is mean. This dude's a jerk to our great hero, Hulk Hogan. He just wants me to eat my vitamins and say my prayers. What a great guy. But Shawn Michaels has to come in and make fun of him, call him old. He's an ageist. And 40-year-old me is like, this is bad. This is real bad.
I mean,
Yeah, that's my first memory of Shawn Michaels. But yours was with SmackDown vs. Raw 2007, I believe, correct?
yeah, I think we talked about this in the video game episode that we did. I forgot
Yes.
which episode that
I
was,
think
but
8,
8. Check that out. But
possibly.
I was a big fan of SmackDown vs. Raw 2007. Played that shit on my PSP. Always mained Shawn Michaels, because he had the killer theme song. He had the good looks. He had the super kicks, man. So that's when I fell in love with him, and I loved going on YouTube watching the D-Generation X funniest moments when I was like 5, and seeing their funny moments, and which made me a Triple H fan too. But I had with
Yes.
Shawn Michaels. Let's talk about that Hulk Hogan scenario, I guess, which was probably one
Oh,
of the best matches of all time.
yes. Hulk Hogan, Shawn Michaels, SummerSlam 2005. Man, oh man. Now when you're older and like the stuff behind it, right? Like why Shawn Michaels is doing all that overselling, why they only had one match. You're like, man, Hulk Hogan is not a good guy. Hulk
You know
Hogan
it's
is
bad when Hulk Hogan brings back 1990s Shawn Michaels.
exactly.
like,
Shawn
like,
Michaels went all out in this match. Shawn Michaels deserved to win this match, by the way. He ended up losing it. He only had one match with Hogan. He wanted two. He wanted to lose one, win one, but Hogan does not play ball. We all know Hulk Hogan. He is not gonna. He's not gonna lose one to you.
I remember the
But
next night on Monday Night Raw, Shawn Michaels was like, I couldn't keep up with Hulk Hogan's in-ring skills. He was the more nimble opponent. he was the better fighter. His agile cat-like reflexes. Just mocking Hulk Hogan the night
Shawn,
after.
Shawn Michaels is a savage, man. Who can forget, like, to build up to that match in Montreal, what this man did?
Who's
He
your
got
daddy, Montreal?
he got all of Canada to hate. Well, Canada already hated him. Don't get me wrong, but UT's bringing out Bret Hart. UT's bringing out Hulk Hogan.
Oh my
Which,
god.
by the way, I don't know why Hulk Hogan didn't come out that night because he was in the arena. He was supposed to fight Kurt Angle that night, so he could have just came out.
Maybe Hulk Hogan's the real heel. I mean, he is the real heel, honestly.
I mean, definitely the real heel. If you don't know why, look it up. Hulk Hogan, racist.
Racist. But I mean, Shawn Michaels, like he had that small heel run in 2005, which was great, but I guess he didn't want that to happen, and I feel like it would maybe. I mean, if it didn't happen though, there would be no Montreal moment. That was such a good moment. That was so
Very true.
fucking funny.
Yeah.
But Shawn Michaels, I feel like for the most of his career, has been known as a known as a face, I guess. Even though when you think about him in the '90s, you think of heel,
Yeah.
but I feel like the majority of his career was as a face, wasn't it?
The way I think about it is in the '90s Attitude Era, he was a real life heel and an on screen heel, and
Mm,
then after he came back, reborn Christian,
he found God.
he's a real life face and also a on screen face for the most part, other than 2005.
Yeah,
So for the most part, I think latter half of his career face because he was genuinely in that place where he could be a genuinely good guy. Even when he was in DX again, they revamp it. It's fun, but it's face now. It's
it's
PG.
really good that he changed up his in or his outside of wrestling persona because
Definitely.
he was such an asshole in the '90s, but he was one of those assholes where you were like, well, you step in the ring with him and he's just too good, right? Like he's not like Hulk Hogan where or Ultimate Warrior who's very limited or Goldberg. He's fucking Shawn Michaels. Like
Exactly.
he's that varsity quarterback you have in high school who's a fucking asshole, but he's a D1 athlete who has all the fucking bitches, bro.
He- He's
You got-
he's honestly, so we've talked about like who the greatest of all time is so much. And people, when we talk about the greatest of all time, names like Stone Cold, The Rock, Undertaker, Hulk Hogan, even, right? These names are all so common. But truly, for the wrestling fan, how could you not have Shawn Michaels at least in your top three? You know,
yeah,
and for a lot of people, they argue number one, like yourself. Shawn Michaels is your number one guy, right? Um,
mhm.
but that completely makes sense. And if you watch his matches, you know why. This dude puts on classic after classic after classic, and people, he's so good in the ring that people don't even think about him for his mic skills, and he's actually really solid on the mic. He's
Honestly, yeah.
amazing.
Yeah,
But he's that solid.
he's no Triple H on the mic, but he's still pretty good on the mic. I actually just saw his 50-minute John Cena match
On Raw,
on Raw. Holy
yeah.
shit, dude.
I think in terms of Monday Night Raw, that might be the best Monday Night Raw match ever.
It was so fucking good. And Shawn Michaels has been known as Mr. WrestleMania. And truth be told, he probably has some of the best track records for best WrestleMania matches of all time. I mentioned this before where Shawn Michaels wrestled Vince McMahon and made one of the best matches of the night on WrestleMania in
Exactly.
2006.
He was a tag team partner with God,
But he lost though to
but that's
Mr.
okay.
McMahon and Shane McMahon.
Sometimes the devil wins, you know.
But I mean, let's go back to I guess asshole Shawn Michaels in the '90s because I feel like '90s Shawn Michaels not only outside the ring was so different, but in the ring was a bit different too. Because I felt like in the '90s he felt, which I mean, it makes sense. It felt immature in the ring, not in a bad way, I guess, just younger in the ring, less experienced, I guess.
Lot more
Um,
high flying, lot more explosiveness. Obviously, no broken back, so that's why. But
it becomes
uh,
more technical in the 2000s, I would say, and he
yeah,
does a really good. There's a lot of he shows that in matches with Kurt Angle, in that John Cena match I talked about. I think matches with Chris Jericho. It's very technical, and it's a different side of Shawn Michaels, and it's pretty
what was
good. It's
what was so interesting about that '90s run though is that Vince McMahon saw a guy who was not the typical mold that Vince McMahon liked. He wasn't the big muscular dude. He wasn't the dude who was limited in the ring but just had a grand persona, right? He was pure skill. He had charisma. He was charismatic as hell, right? But he saw this guy's like, I want this guy to pick up the ball and run with it. He wanted Brett to drop the title to him on numerous occasions, and eventually he did. They had that banger of a match, the Iron Man match. I believe it was just May 12th, right? Um,
yeah,
it's surprising to see that like he really does set the tone for guys with the smaller stature to be in the main event, to be the face of the company.
oh,
You see a group like DX in the '90s without watching wrestling, and you kind of pick out like, oh, I bet that guy Triple H is the leader, right? It's Shawn Michaels. Like that's how much they trust in a guy like Shawn, and he put in the work. He was given the ball right after his turn on Marty Jannetty with the IC championship, and it was really surprising to see Vince do something like that. It was the first of its kind, really.
Yeah. During the New Generation era, where I guess the steroid trial was kind of b- lowering the bigger stars and increasing the smaller stars, you had two guys to really look to for that. You had Bret Hart, and then you had Shawn Michaels, which I've and they put on, again, like you said, match every good match you could think of. You know, they're they're complete opposites, and yet their chemistry was just amazing in the ring. But we can't talk about Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels without talking about the Montreal screw job.
I want to ask
What?
you this
what?
before
What?
we like Montreal Screwjob. Was it a work?
Uh, that's one of the biggest, I guess, conspiracies in wrestling is Montreal Screwjob will work, and I don't know. I don't think so. And if it was one of the smartest decisions Vince McMahon has ever made, because that was when WWE kind of won the, or I would say this turning point for the whole Attitude Era. You had Bret Hart, which made him go WCW, which kind of uh, ended his career there with Goldberg, which no one holds a grudge
I
like
don't.
Bret Hart.
I don't think they knew that was gonna happen. I think.
No, they didn't. But
Yeah.
even then, though, they didn't really do much with Bret Hart in WCW. He was kind of,
Definitely, they dropped the ball with Bret Hart, and especially with all the heat, like all the not heat, but like all the buzz around Bret Hart after Montreal. They could have done so much with him, but
they
like the fact of the matter was at the time that opposite to popular belief, when Bret Hart was in the main event, it did not sell very well. It's
mm,
many people think, oh, like Bret Hart, one of the best of all time, which I agree. He's amazing in the ring. I actually think he's a really great promo too. He's really charismatic. He gives off like really like Boy Scout like good guy energy. Which also makes him a good heel because like sometimes you just find that guy annoying.
oh
Um,
yeah,
right? Yeah.
yeah,
But he did not sell. He wasn't on the level charismatic wise as Shawn Michaels. When you spend your hard-earned money to go watch someone wrestle, I think people would rather see Shawn Michaels than Bret Hart. And for that reason, like
yeah.
Vince was pretty clear, like, I can't give you that lifetime contract I promised you, Brett. So I'm gonna have to rescind it. You can sign with us for a smaller amount, or you can go to WCW for a bigger amount. But if you are gonna go to WCW, you gotta drop the title, which I think is actually pretty fair. Like Brett's idea of winning the title at Survivor Series and then dropping it Monday night, like he obviously just did not want to pass the torch to Shawn because he doesn't like Shawn, which is understandable.
Yeah.
No one liked Shawn at the time.
No one like Sean. Yeah.
But if someone is paying your contract, you do business on the way out. At least that's in my opinion. Obviously, people would like have their opinions on like Naomi and Sasha Banks might think differently, right? But in my opinion, like if your boss is paying you to do something, you do that job and then you leave. So I don't think it's a
Yeah.
work, by the way. I think it's a shoot.
You don't think you think yeah, I definitely think it's a shoot too. And and just this small thing, I agree with you. Bret Hart versus Shawn Michaels. When it comes to charisma overall, the entertainment side of sports entertainment, Shawn Michaels probably beats Bret out of the park for that. When it comes to, because Bret has a good character, but there was just something unique about Shawn Michaels. He was almost like a Rick Rude type of charisma, which is kind of weird saying because Rick Rude is technically a DX member too, right? Like, um,
Yeah, he just stood there for some
he just
reason.
stood there and
Why
then
was he
he
there?
stood there for like 2 months and left. Um, and actually, I know there's a Shawn Michaels episode, but let me just say one more thing about Bret Hart. I saw this TikTok recently about Bret Hart having a promo with Razor Ramon, and I'm sorry, next to Razor Ramon, Bret Hart looked like a bitch on the mic. Like he does sound like that annoying Boy Scout, and he was the face. And
I
Razor
saw this
Ramon
was
was
the
like,
WWF one, right? For the
yeah, for the
IC
King of the
champ?
Ring, I think, or it was either King of the Ring or IC Champ. It was King of the Ring, I think. And then
Okay.
he was like,
Yeah.
"Hey Chico, nah, you think you gonna beat me? Nah, you ain't gonna beat me. You ain't nothing." I loved Razor Ramon. Speaking of which. Razor Ramon and Shawn Michaels.
Ooh.
Oh my god.
Ric Flair supposedly says that Shawn Michaels wrestled a ladder for 20 minutes.
I
he's
mean,
not a
he
fan
did.
of he's not a fan of um Scott Hall, Razor Ramon, obviously, but dude,
Mhm.
this was not technically the first ladder match ever. I think this is the first ladder match at WrestleMania 10.
Mhm.
This set the precedent for ladder matches, though. We would
Yeah.
have no Hardy Boys versus Edge and Christian versus Dudley Boys if we did not have Shawn Michaels versus Razor Ramon in an IC Championship match at WrestleMania 10. Um, Back then, ladder matches were pretty cool, right? Like the crowd was going crazy. They couldn't even imagine what that would turn into. If they saw the spots we were doing in 2023, I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure like the fans' brains would melt out of their head.
Honestly, dude, because there were Shawn Michaels was like someone who had the athleticism of someone in modern day wrestling, like someone like Seth Rollins. And if the ladder match was like, I guess as popular as it was back, as popular as it was now as it was back then maybe they. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but
Yeah, like back then you had to do a lot. You didn't have to do as much as you have to do today, because
yeah,
we've seen so much. Back then you could do a tope suicida and you would lay out for like 5 minutes on the outside and you'd be good. But today you see Seth Rollins do a suicida, he runs back in and does it 2 more times immediately.
yeah,
Like the
dude.
the pace is just insane.
And I would say about Michaels and Razor, it was if you haven't seen the watch along on YouTube of them watching it, it's such a fun commentary on it. But Shawn Michaels and Razor Ramon, there was only one ladder there. If that ladder broke, what the fuck could you do? And they're
Honestly,
and honestly, like that ladder was on the verge of breaking like multiple times. You can see it throughout the match, and they worked with what they got with this newer concept of a match because it wasn't the first ladder match. Let's say it was the first mainstream ladder match that kind of got it into the public's eyes, at least in WWE. In the,
I think Bret Hart had the first ladder match in the WWF.
I think it was in the house show though.
Yeah,
Yeah,
which
but
is really interesting
that oh
because we're
yeah,
tying things back to Bret Hart.
I mean, Shawn Michaels is pretty much if there was like I don't know, like five people that you can thank for Shawn Michaels' career, Bret Hart's definitely like the first person you could think of, you know. And then it could be like Triple H, debatably Razor Ramon, um, debatably
Undertaker.
Kevin Nash, and Undertaker.
Man, it's almost like that TikTok video we released.
Yeah,
Ooh.
yeah, it
Yeah,
actually is.
we made a
We made a Hamilton
we
TikTok video.
yeah, we've been making those
Those
Jake has been
trends.
making those Hamilton
Yeah,
trend videos. Man, they do so well on TikTok.
yeah. So fucking like it the fuck up. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Our next one,
Go
but
check it out.
HBK also had a rematch with Razor Ramon in that ladder match, I believe. I think it was SummerSlam. Was it also a ladder match too for the IC title? It was one. That was another good match. That was
I don't know.
you don't know.
No,
It
I
was
don't
I
know.
think it was SummerSlam '94 if I'm not mistaken. If not, it's SummerSlam '95. Maybe I'm making shit up. But I
I
do know
was negative
Razor and
I was negative 5 years old. My bad.
I was negative 10. Oh my god, you're like
Damn.
5 years older than me.
Young blood.
Jesus Christ.
I am.
But yeah, Shawn Michaels, let's talk about his lows in his career, such as remember Crown Jewel 2018?
Oh, not that I want to, but yes, I do remember it. I don't want to remember it.
I will say though, in that whole match, like I don't mean to be a Shawn Michaels kiss ass, but I think Shawn Michaels probably played the was probably the best fit in that ring compared to anyone else,
Honestly, I
which
think
is
it was
kind of
just
sad.
if the injuries were not happening that night, Triple H probably
Yeah.
Triple H freak accidents all the time with that man.
I mean, okay, brother. So if you don't know the story, Shawn Michaels and Triple H, D-Generation X, was fighting Brothers of Destruction, Kane and the Undertaker, at Crown Jewel 2018 in Saudi Arabia. So the story here was that Shawn Michaels, which we'll talk about later, was retired by the Undertaker in 2010 at WrestleMania. It was a perfect send away. thank God, or I mean, thank God, no, his legacy cannot be tarnished. Then he came back 8 years later, like 55
Oops.
years old, and then it's just a bunch of 50-year-old men in a ring main eventing Saudi Arabia in a terrible match with a bunch of botches, injuries. Kane's mask fell off once. Um,
Yep. The Crown Prince demanded HBK. The Crown Prince got HBK.
oh man, and you know what sucks? Apparently 2 years earlier there was a planned match for Shawn Michaels versus AJ Styles, which honestly could have been a really good match. I feel like it would have been kind of bad if you had uh him coming back after a retirement, because that kind of defeats the purpose of the retirement match, but it's wrestling. So,
His
everyone,
career was literally perfect.
it was
Like
perfect.
tie the
In
bow
the
on it,
end,
it's done.
you didn't
But
need
damn,
another match after. But if you had another match after, I would say Styles would be a good one, because looking how Kevin Owens and Steve Austin played, I feel like having a younger talent and making him take most of the bumps and you taking some of the bumps would be pretty good, I guess, for a nostalgia go away home match.
I don't think it could be like a normal match though. It has to be a stipulation. That's why I think the no DQ really helped with Steve Austin
Yeah.
KO. That like you could wait out a lot more things. You can move around a lot more. Um, things can protect Steve Austin a little bit more. Like the kendo sticks and the chairs, they make him look a lot better. But dang, I just wish Shawn Michaels never did that. Never did that match with the Brothers of Destruction and DX.
Yeah, and
Um,
and why did it have to be bald Shawn Michaels? Bald Shawn Michaels, man, and he still came
uh,
out the sexy boy.
late lazy eye bald Shawn Michaels. I didn't know which Brother of Destruction he was looking at, bro.
Oh
He
man,
wanted like
yeah,
both of
Shawn
them.
Michaels. This is probably Kane. Kane's the reason why he has that lazy eye. Kane, didn't Kane boot him and give him a lazy eye? Poor,
Exactly.
poor Shawn. And
No, Shawn Mike then deserved it. It's
Sh-
alright.
Sh- Shawn Michaels has aged pretty poorly. I'll say that. Which, I mean, I don't mean to
It's
be
the
mean.
main thing to say.
I don't mean to be mean,
That dude
but
has a really hairy body.
I mean, he does,
It's like oddly hairy.
and we still call him the Heartbreak Kid. I mean, he's
Not a kid.
not a
Not
sexy
breaking
boy.
any hearts. Not breaking any hearts. But
I mean, I do want to touch that merchandise though. Um,
no,
but
but Shawn Michaels though. All right. Now, so this man has gone through so many ups and downs in his career, right? We talked about the 90s, how he's kind of a jerk. We talked about we barely talked about Ruthless, like after Ruthless Aggression, he's a great guy. But what's really interesting is that when he does do his last match in the Attitude Era against Steve Austin in WrestleMania 14, right? He breaks his back. He takes the 5 years off. You think Shawn Michaels is done forever, right? But this man goes back to San Antonio, Texas, opens up a wrestling school, and like you watch 90% of indie wrestling today, I you see the influence of Shawn Michaels. I don't think there's anyone more influential of in-ring performances today than Shawn Michaels. Before Shawn Michaels, I would say like Harley Race, but Shawn Michaels today, like super kicks, man. Can you
it's
watch a
just
wrestling
super
match?
kicks after
Can you
super
watch
kicks.
a wrestling match today, like a wrestling show, without seeing a super kick? I'm pretty sure EC3's promotion, Control Your Narrative, I think they banned the super kick, and they also banned the tope suicida,
Man.
because they didn't want to be indie wrestling.
Yeah, maybe it's best they just become indie wrestling. Control Your Narrative kind of sucks.
Yeah,
But if they want to give us press passes, we will gladly we will
we love you,
we love
but
Control Your Narrative.
guys like the best wrestler in the world today, Brian Danielson. He's a product of Shawn Michaels, right? Guys like AJ Styles, heavily influenced by Shawn Michaels. You know, I really don't see an area of wrestling that hasn't been touched by Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, I mean Shawn Michaels, I guess as a viewer of wrestling influenced me into like I guess just what type of style of wrestling I enjoy to watch. Um and like again, whether it's technical, high flying, Shawn Michaels is a huge inspiration for, I guess, you know, most people. He didn't invent the super kick, of course, but he definitely brought it
He
into
popularized it
mainstream
for
eyes.
sure.
He popularized it for sure. Going back to Shawn Michaels, my second favorite WWE superstar is Kurt Angle, and we can't forget Sexy Kurt, where he brought out Sensational Sherry, sung Sexy Kurt, and then made Sensational Sherry tap out.
Why? Like, Kurt Angle must have been on the perks by now. Like, that's all I can say when I was watching. I was like, the amount of perks this man was on.
I think Shawn Michaels was on the Titantron, and by this point they're in separate brands. And I think Shawn Michaels made a reason why he couldn't go on Tuesdays for SmackDown was because religious reasons. So he was like,
For real?
yeah, I heard that from like a God interview with Shawn Michaels. Some church thing where like
Damn, we gotta get him on the show.
we need interview from God. But yeah, apparently the reason why Shawn was never really on SmackDown was because of the fact that he does prayers on Tuesday, or something. That's what I heard.
Okay.
But
Hey, shout out Shawn.
so he never really came to Tuesdays on SmackDown Live. So he was on the Titantron making fun of Kurt Angle. Sensational Sherry laughs. And then Kurt Angle looks at Sensational Sherry and just makes her tap out with the ankle lock.
What a menace.
Man.
Like, oh my god, I'm just thinking about the WrestleMania match, and which got me even thinking more into why they call Shawn Michaels Mr. WrestleMania. Is there a superstar possibly under who has a better string of WrestleMania matches? You could say the Undertaker, but you have to remember like the first 10 matches of his streak were cheeks.
And there were still
right?
like cheek ass matches from Undertaker, like Bray Wyatt, Mark Henry.
Yeah, but I know, but like after that, like dude, Undertaker, everything after Undertaker, Randy Orton, I was like, oh my god, I love Undertaker WrestleMania matches.
Yeah.
But yes, Shawn Michaels, Mr. WrestleMania, dude. Like you said, Vince McMahon. Holy crap! No one expected that match to be
How was
amazing.
that a good match? Like it wasn't like good technically, but it was like a good entertaining match.
It's fun.
It's fun to watch.
You watched it and you enjoyed it.
It's like Sami Zayn versus Johnny Knoxville. It's fun. It's just fun to watch. Better.
Yes.
You had Shawn Michaels, Chris Benoit, Triple H, Kurt Angle, which we mentioned, which was fantastic.
That match, Chris Benoit, Triple H, Shawn Michaels. I never thought a triple threat match could have all three competitors so involved the whole time. Because usually, what do you see? You see one guy get knocked out the ring, and then it's one-on-one match, and then another guy comes in, another gets knocked out the ring, right? This match was so involved, and it was so great, and it really put Chris Benoit over. But then Chris Benoit decided to put himself more over and put his kids under. No,
yes, let's go. That's
promo of the year.
Chris Benoit. But who else did HBK go against? Jericho, another good WrestleMania match.
Just talked about the Kurt Angle one. Kurt Angle,
both takers. The taker matches. Ric Flair was a fun one too. Good Steve retirement Austin. Match. Steve Austin. You had 14. Bret Hart, of course.
The Razor WrestleMania 10 ladder match. Can't forget it.
Everything before the Razor match was kind of lame. I'm not gonna lie, but from Razor until after, I'd say it was pretty good. I mean, Nash and Michaels, that was okay. I didn't really care for.
Yeah, the Diesel Michaels, not the main event of WrestleMania for the WWE Championship.
Oh yeah, wasn't it like Lawrence Taylor and Bam Bam Bigelow? Why was that? Why was that the main event? Why was that the main event? What the fuck? But yeah, HBK, dude, definitely a Mr.
If you want to find out why it's the main event, go check out episode 8 of the Wrestless Podcast. Back then, we talked about it.
I think you said video games was episode 8.
Oh, my bad. I think
right
video
here.
games.
It's right here. He's gonna look it up on YouTube.
Video games is episode 6.
Just lied to our viewers. I think our viewers stopped watching like in minute 10.
I just lost their trust.
Yeah, like
I'm sorry.
They're listening. They're listening to us talk about Bad Bunny, and they're like, "What kind of video game is this?" But Shawn Michaels is now doing one hell of a job on NXT. Um,
Yes. We already
which
talked
is
about him kind of like mentoring the future generation. He's doing it even more now in NXT. What like superstars you see on NXT that kind of remind you of Shawn Michaels?
me personally, the one person which I know that you don't necessarily like too much, but it's
Man,
Carmelo Hayes. You know, I see Carmelo.
Shawn
I
Michaels
see.
not black.
Are you sure about that? Remember when? I'm sorry. Remember when DX came in all in
Did
blackface?
blackface.
Like that. I'm
And
not
then
Shawn
like
Michaels. Shawn Michaels didn't do blackface.
Triple H was so funny. I'm gonna put that in here. It's amazing.
Shawn Michaels with his, or not, Triple H with his nose and his fucking.
I think Triple H has been involved in way too many racist storylines.
Yeah, remember when he said to Booker T, "Your type of people
I
don't
told
win
him that
championships."
he said, "Dance for me, Book. Dance for me."
No, I remember when Eddie Guerrero stole Ric Flair's Royal Rumble entry thing, and then Triple H was like, "You come back here, you jumping bean." I'm like, damn, okay, Triple H.
Damn.
We haven't canceled Triple H yet. Hashtag cancel Triple. No, don't cancel Triple H. Don't cancel Triple H. It was a
Don't
joke.
get. He's doing
We can't.
amazing things right now.
He's worse than Vince McMahon. You don't want Vince McMahon. Oh, he's better than Vince McMahon. My bad.
Yeah,
If you're
man. I
not
was like, what is he
Caucasian,
saying?
leave.
Leave.
I don't make the rules around here. But yeah, HBK is doing a hell of a job on NXT. Before that, he was doing some nice mentoring at the what was it called,
Performance Center.
the Performance Center. That's right.
Yeah,
And
I really like what superstars are coming out of NXT right now. Really, especially like one of my favorites, Tony D'Angelo, and the storylines he's got going on. The mob boss, like the whole crime family vignettes they keep doing all the time. Why is crime family involved in wrestling?
yeah, can we
You know?
like put him in cuffs real quick? I mean,
No, they did. They did last week on NXT. He's going
oh
to jail.
no,
Someone
oh,
snitched on him.
yeah, I think I remember seeing that.
Yeah,
Loose
so
lips.
they're doing some crazy stuff. I really like Axiom. This dude is
Hmm.
insane. And just like Shawn Michaels, this man be hitting super kicks sometimes.
I see. I don't see him. I see a little bit. I see a little bit of Wes Lee and Shawn Michaels. But
How many times I
yeah,
gotta tell you? Shawn Michaels not black.
Shawn Michaels is only black wrestling. I feel like I saw that. Shawn Michaels reminds
Shawn
me of
Michaels.
Mark
You,
Henry.
you just said Shawn Michaels is black wrestling.
I said is only
No, no, no. Who's the face of black wrestling? Shawn Michaels.
Shawn Michaels. We're gonna get canceled, huh?
Kurt Angle, Shawn Michaels,
Speaking
Chris
of
Benoit.
speaking of black wrestlers and Shawn Michaels, remember Shelton Benjamin and Shawn Michaels and that awesome super kick?
Ooh,
That was
yes.
so fun.
That
And then
that match put Shelton Benjamin on the map, like legit. Not often do you get kicked in the face and you get over.
yeah,
But Shawn Michaels put Shelton Benjamin over by kicking him in the face.
yeah, Shawn Michaels and Rey Mysterio, which was another good one when Eddie died.
Smack, Eddie died, and when they had their match on SmackDown,
Yeah,
2009, I believe. Dang, Rey Mysterio and Shawn Michaels. I wish they had way more matches than they did,
yeah,
because
that could have been.
I think they've only wrestled each other twice.
Yeah, televised at least. I
Yeah,
will say, dream matches of Shawn Michaels that never happened. First off, you have Shawn Michaels versus The Rock. That's one that kind of never happened due to political issues, not like American politics, but backstage politic issues. Because I think
yeah.
Michaels and The Rock weren't really the best of terms when he first arrived. And of course, another one is Michaels and Eddie Guerrero, which was supposed to be the match for WrestleMania 22 until Eddie sadly died. That was like the rumored match, and that would have been another match put in the books. Way better than McMahon and Michaels and Guerrero. Oh my god.
I don't think I've seen. I don't think it's happened, but Shawn Michaels versus Brock Lesnar.
I don't think it happened, but I do remember whenever NWO walked into Brock Lesnar's locker room, and it was so surreal to see Brock Lesnar going face to face with Kevin Nash,
Yeah.
HWK, X Pac. Didn't feel
What
right.
what was that one thing on SmackDown with like Nash and Hall, and they're like, he's got a gun, and then they started running back to the locker room, and like shots started firing off. Do you remember that?
No, but
No.
it
Okay, I'm gonna send
sounds
it
like
to you.
okay. It sounds like something that WWE would do.
No, the real match that we've never seen that honestly, Shawn Michaels should come out of retirement for this match. Actually, WrestleMania 40 in Philadelphia, calling it right now. Shawn Michaels versus Austin Theory, United States Championship.
Man, you know what? I stopped really wanting Shawn Michaels to wrestle whenever he lost his hair. It's just not the same
When he
anymore.
stopped being a sexy boy.
Yeah, when he stopped being a sexy boy, because it's like whenever Edge cuts his hair, it just feels like he's old now, and it just kind of ruins it for
That
me.
looks
Like,
cool.
I mean, not as cool as Triple H with no hair. Triple H with no hair. The, by the way, we went to a Chili
Hey,
Peppers concert yesterday. Some dude in
last
front
night.
of me last night. Here's a shirt. Woo, represent. Some dude sitting in front of me looked like Triple H. I called him Triple H. He was kind of drunk, but I was like, "Yo, you look like Triple H." We're sponsored by Chili Peppers. We love Chili Peppers. We're huge Chili Peppers.
Oh wait, I have a poster on my wall.
If you couldn't tell, he likes Chili Peppers.
Oh yeah, look, there's some more stuff. Wow, and there's some chili pepper drumsticks up there too. Wow.
Oh damn! I got a Back to the Future poster up here. No
Oh, I see that.
wrestling
Nice.
posters. That's kind of disappointing, actually. I need some HBK posters ASAP.
I don't think I have anything wrestling merch in here right now.
We're not real
Oh,
wrestling fans.
I have a couple belts in my closet, but yeah.
Yeah, we're not real wrestling fans. We're just kind of given a script, and we just
I
kind
don't
of
need
play off
any
that.
of those belts when I got this bad boy, bro. This is the real belt of wrestling.
We really need to put like Omos faces on those side plates.
We need to like get this thing like made out of metal and stuff, like with leather straps.
Honestly, dude, we need to start getting better equipment. We're kind of broke here.
Yeah. I mean, we look pretty good right now. Look at us.
Yeah, look at us.
Anyways, have you heard of Shawn Michaels?
Mike, remember when Shawn Michaels was a chef and super kicked a little kid?
Remember when he super kicked Sean Spears backstage?
Hey, what's your name? Stan.
Stan.
See, I just kicked Stan. Calm down, Sean. I love his raspy ass voice,
Yeah.
dude. Remember when he was
What'd you think
cover of
about-
Playgirl?
Oh, no. Well, I do remember, but I don't remember it visually. I didn't look at it.
Well, we're gonna post it right now. We're not gonna post it, but yeah, he was cover of Playgirl, and it was funny because he got teased for it, and he was like, "I thought girls read that magazine." The demographics mostly gay guys, so you know.
Ain't nothing wrong with that. But
Yeah.
what'd you think about Shawn Michaels in DX in the PG era versus the Attitude era?
I feel like growing up, at least, as a kid, I enjoyed more the PG era because you're a kid, right? I mean, ha ha ha, hornswoggle, ha ha ha, dwarves, small people,
Court.
little people,
Well
court,
said.
you know. But I feel like growing up, I've kind of felt so iffy about PG DX, but I really enjoyed the Ruthless Aggression DX that they had for a bit when they were like messing with Vince's camera and was like, "I love cocks," and but Attitude Era DX was something else because from all the shit we talk about Shawn Michaels being an asshole, I feel like
Mhm.
that's the only good thing that came out of it was DX because he was an asshole, but it really felt like we were kind of watching backstage Shawn Michaels in
I mean, we
Attitude
got
Era.
Montreal Screwjob out of it, and Montreal Screwjob is one of the biggest defining events to ever happen in the sport.
One of my favorite interviews I've heard about DX, I think it was with Triple H, was when when they're on that presidential podium thing saying we can't say these words. And they just start saying fuck, shit, cunt, piss, whore.
Damn, there goes our sponsorship deals, man.
And
Why would you say that?
and USA wanted it. They wanted more of that, even though they originally explicitly said no no cussing, no saying this. But then when it got so much good feedback, DX,
They couldn't resist
they
DX
couldn't resist. Nothing
because
could
the
stop
fans love
DX.
DX. There's nothing better than an Attitude Era crowd, man. Like, because there's no phones, everyone's watching it, right? Everybody in the arena, almost everyone has a sign. That was the coolest part. I love reading the random fan signs. "M- My mom makes the best lasagna." That's my favorite sign I've
The
ever seen.
tribal queef.
Exactly. Um, but man, Shawn Michaels in PG versus Attitude Era, the one thing stays consistent. This man had never lost a step. 5 years gone with a broken back, came back
Well, it's
immediately.
2018, but you know.
Let's not talk about that. 5 years came back, stepped into the ring with Triple H, the top heel
Oh
in the
my god.
business at the time,
Wearing jeans.
wearing jeans in a street fight at SummerSlam, I believe. Right?
Yeah.
They had a great match. A couple months later, this man wins the Elimination Chamber, becomes the World Heavyweight Champion.
Wearing poop pants. Brown
Broke
pants.
his back, came back 5 years later, and won the Heavyweight Championship. Yeah,
And I'll tell you what was so interesting. You have Shawn Michaels as a multi-time world champion, but throughout the 2000s, he only held the world championship one time for 20 days, and still he was one of the top stars. He didn't need a
yeah.
championship.
He was in
And
multiple championship matches, though. Great matches. John Cena, Batista, Undertaker,
it was, yeah, he had so many of these great
Edge.
matches, and it really like showed you that he didn't need a championship to like prove that he was worth something. He liked helping in the 2000s run. He liked helping others to get them to where they are. Like, for example, he lost to Kurt Angle, and from what I heard from that, apparently he lost to Kurt Angle and tapped out to him to make Kurt Angle excel in his feud with Batista later that year, so he can look like a credible threat. Because apparently Angle and Michaels had the choice of how the match was going to end, and I find that very cool.
Very noble.
Very noble.
Very unlike his old self. But
Bitching
I'll tell
about
you what,
Vader.
dude, when he was stiff with Vader, stomping on his face, this man Sean had a temper back then.
Oh my god, dude! Honestly, dude,
Yeah.
sometimes I
His
couldn't
tag
tell.
team partner, Marty Jannetty, killed the dude when he was 13, and he still super kicked Marty Jannetty through the window.
And
He had
threw him
no
through a
fear.
window.
He had no fear.
But honestly, would probably always get his ass whipped by Bret Hart. If I'm being for real with you, Bret Hart would whip his ass because they always had fights. And even though Bret Hart always seemed like the calm, collected one, I feel like Bret Hart has beat Shawn Michaels' ass before.
Well, he definitely beat Vince McMahon. He hit him with that nice uppercut.
And it was so funny when I seen the
Could you
Montreal
imagine?
screw job, and like Bret Hart was going up to Shawn. There's like backstage footage of this, and he's like, "Do you know about this?" "Oh, I swear to God, and God's my only witness." "Oh, I haven't. I don't even. I'm shocked." Fucking
No, he's not
liar.
shocked.
And it was crazy
Mm.
when they buried the hatchet in 2010. And
That was really cool. And
yeah,
that was really interesting. 2010. Could you imagine the state of WWE in 2010? You have your world champions, the Edge, John Cena, Undertaker, those guys. But your tag team champions are Triple H and Shawn Michaels. You're very set. You're in a very
yeah.
good position in the company.
Speaking of 2010, which is Shawn Michaels' last year of wrestling, that's the only year we're going to talk about. This is Shawn Michaels' last year, not 2018, 2010.
Nothing exists after that.
But I remember the Royal Rumble he had, which was one of the best Royal Rumble stories I've heard, where he needed to win the Royal Rumble to get his chance with The Undertaker. And he was so close. He kicked Triple H out. He eliminated all these people. He was on a roll. And I think Final Four comes along. Batista eliminates him. And he comes in and super kicks these referees. It was so devastating when he lost. The whole crowd was just in disbelief because there's a part of us that thought Shawn Michaels was going to be a 3-time Royal Rumble winner.
Yeah. And he was the first man to win the Royal Rumble from the number 1 position. But dang, this story was so cool because what happened a couple months later at Elimination Chamber, though?
Oh, he
Tell the
super
people.
kicked. He super kicked The Undertaker, cost him the world title at
He
Elimination.
came out the great.
Day.
He came out the
Fucking
great.
yeah. Fucking make Chris Jericho win, and then that set up Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 26, career versus streak.
I
And
don't know
yeah.
how more perfectly you could set up a match than they did with Shawn Michaels Undertaker, their second match, WrestleMania 26.
Oh, what makes me sad though is that I didn't start watching wrestling TV until like the week after Shawn Michaels retired. You know how sad that was for me playing these games for like a
Yeah.
few months to a year, and
Your favorite
fin-
wrestler retires.
finally seeing it on TV, and then literally I remember it picture perfect. Here's a look back on what happened last week when Shawn Michaels retired. It was him with his red shirt. I remember that vividly, and I didn't know what was going on. But looking back, that was the week after his retirement. I came back to Nexus, man. I came back to fucking Nexus, not Shawn Michaels. Fuck. But yeah, and 2 years later, 2012, Shawn Michaels was a big part, as in he was a special guest referee in one of the best Hell in a Cell matches, in my opinion, Triple H versus Undertaker, almost ending the streak, which it's still my favorite
How
kick out
did
of
they
all time.
not? This man super kicked the Undertaker. Undertaker turns around and lands right into a pedigree.
Oh my god. I I love
That's what,
Sean, bro. Oh my god.
isn't it crazy the pedigree is actually shaped like an H when he hooks it up, you know?
Isn't it crazy that the pedigree is kind of a bitch move now?
Hey man, they're
Listen,
ruining.
man.
Why go I get Seth Rollins using it and I
And
get Cody
Cody.
Rhodes using it, but they gotta use it like way less.
Yeah,
Because like at least Seth Rollins was finishing matches with it, right? Like he beat Bobby Lashley with that. Like that like clean with the pedigree. Cody Rhodes, he uses as your classic. It's almost how Seth Rollins uses the Falcon Arrow. You know they're not gonna go to 3. I actually
yeah.
don't like that. I wish he'd like pin someone like Chad Gable on Raw with the Falcon Arrow. Just do it.
Yeah. I think um Cody's kind of, in my eyes, almost whenever I remember seeing Triple H and kind of seeing Seth Rollins as his son, or you know, the mentor of Seth Rollins. Now I kind of
Yeah.
see it with Cody now, which is weird to think, huh? I always see them at least the past couple weeks, right? I
Yeah.
mean,
Little baby boy.
little baby boy Cody. Speaking
Yeah.
of which,
And did you
you know,
sorry,
what's
when
up?
you're talking about mentors, I remember the video a couple of months ago, Shawn Michaels telling Wesley like he's gonna have to defend his North American championship in like a fatal 5-way at Stand and Deliver. And he was just touching up Wesley every single way. Like he was all over his body. I'm gonna pull it up. That was so weird.
That's a sexy boy right there. That's what
Yeah, I
real
was like,
sexy
dang.
boys
I
do.
was like,
By the way, let's all give a round of applause for Shawn Michaels being vocals on his theme song. One of the best theme songs to ever exist. Remember when we used to think when we were little kids that our WWE superstars all were singing their theme songs?
I can't believe Big Show wasn't in the studio like that.
Well, I can't believe Hulk Hogan wasn't singing his song. But when I was actually I actually just learned this a few years ago that Shawn Michaels actually was singing his song, and that's pretty fucking cool.
You know, Jim Johnson had my boy Shawn Michaels cooking up in the stew.
No, it wasn't Jim Johnston, man. It was our
It was
boy
Jimmy Hart,
Jimmy
right?
Hart. It was Jimmy Hart.
Yeah.
Jimmy Hart was like, "All right, Sean, here's some lyrics," and he was just talking with that raspy ass fucking voice. He was like 28 and he had a raspy voice. My boy Sean, man.
Yeah, with something I've really been thinking about lately, as you know, we're Texas boys, so I've been watching a lot more Texas-based wrestling recently. And Shawn Michaels, when he retired, opened up his wrestling school in San Antonio, right? But after that sold, the state of Texas wrestling really declined. Texas used to be a huge market for wrestling, especially like back in the 60s with Paul Bosch, and then you had the Funk Brothers, and then you had Shawn Michaels coming in, training guys like Daniel Bryan or Brian Danielson. After that, it went really downhill, and I think part of that is because Shawn Michaels closed his school or sold it. I know Michinoku had a school in Texas for a little bit in Funaki, and then moved to Japan. But other
Yeah.
than that, like other than Booker T now reviving Texas wrestling, the state of Texas wrestling in the Indies really dropped significantly once Shawn Michaels uh,
It's
backed up.
it's definitely kind of a shame because we talk about wrestling in Texas, and you're right, the Funks, Shawn Michaels, Steve Austin, another good one, Booker T. But even with Booker T's indie wrestling, and this isn't a knock on Booker T's indie wrestling at all. It's just
We love it.
we love it. It's just it. There hasn't been too many stars really produced in Texas, which is a big
I'm really
shame.
excited though. I'm really excited though because I feel like reality of wrestling is becoming huge. It started in 2012, so it's not like these indie organizations grow fast, right? But we see Roxanne Perez now, who
Oh
wrestled in
yeah,
reality wrestling,
that's
who
true.
wrestled in New Texas Pro Wrestling, right? Um, has become a huge star in NXT. So I actually do see some of these ROW guys and gals coming up soon. Guys like Rudy Garza or Edge Stone. Um, Maybe you'll see them on the podcast soon. Who knows? Maybe Izzy James. Maybe guys like Will Allday. By the way, if you guys haven't seen Will Allday versus Rudy Garza, go check out that match.
If
Amazing.
you're a big indie wrestling fan, hell yeah. And hopefully
I'm
we can
not,
go
to
to
be
the
honest, but I'm
reality.
getting into it.
Me neither. But it's definitely a different feel, and it's definitely a lot more fun and relaxed than a mainstream like WWE, AEW. And we should
It's
totally go
cool.
one day.
Yeah, it's cool because it's such a small community and they all know each other. And I think New Texas Pro Wrestling has a show coming up in July, and we'll definitely try to be there and cover it for you guys because we want to expose different kinds of wrestling to you guys too. We all know WWE, we all know AEW, but you guys deserve to know all kinds of wrestling, like the wrestling that Shawn Michaels is producing here in Texas, right? So we're trying to help do what kind of Shawn Michaels was doing and bring Texas wrestling back up. Um, I was just trying to relate it back to Shawn Michaels somehow. So
I you get I, I, I think we covered everything for Sean.
you know what? You know what always happens? We'll end this episode and then probably like 20 minutes later we'll remember something like, oh, we should have talked about that. But uh
Probably.
honestly, it's okay though, because Shawn Michaels has had such an illustrious career. If we try to cover everything, it would take days. I think
I'll
we
tell
had
you
got
what.
everything off our chest.
I got his Wikipedia page pulled up, and we're going and
The
real
Michael
quick
Higginbottom.
the Michael Hickenbottom, and we're gonna do a. I'm gonna do a quick rundown, and then I guess uh, fucking Hottie's gonna make reactions or noises. You ready? Okay, I bet you are ready because maybe we can talk about it for a little bit. Okay, Pro Wrestling Illustrated. Shawn Michaels is fucking cluttered in this one with feud of the
Yeah.
decade of the 2000s. He won
Oh
that
my god.
versus Chris Jericho.
He won that.
Yeah, feud of the
Let's
year
go.
2008 versus Chris Jericho. He won that.
Here's Chris Jericho. He did that.
Match of the decade in the 2000s. He won that versus Ric
He won
Flair.
that.
Match of the decade in the 2010s against Undertaker. That's crazy. In the 2010s, he won
In the
match of the decade according to PWI.
of the decade.
The decade. Match of the year 93, Marty Jannetty, Monday Night Raw.
Marty Jannetty. Monday Night
94 match of the year against Razor Ramon at WrestleMania 10.
Razor.
Match of the year at 95 at WrestleMania 11.
How many
Match
matches
of
are
the
there in a year? This boy be doing them all.
he has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 match of the years. That's a
11
record.
years.
Holy shit.
It's a record.
With Bret Hart, Benoit, Triple H, Kurt Angle, Vince McMahon, match of the year. Okay, come on, come on, PWI.
Wow, PWI recognizing a Vince McMahon success. Amazing.
Most inspirational wrestler of the decade in the 2000s. I mean, in the 2000s, I guess.
He did break his back, right?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. His 2010 most inspirational wrestler, most popular wrestler, 95, 96. Number 1 best singles wrestler in 96. Number 10 best singles wrestler of the PWI years in 2003. Awesome. And then he was a 3-time WWE champion, 1-time World Heavyweight champion, 3-time Intercontinental champion, 1-time European champion. That's fucking awesome. I forgot he was European
Cool.
champion.
He was.
He beat
He
British
was
Bulldog.
European champion and WWE champion at the same time. And then he had to pass down the European championship to Triple H.
Didn't he beat the British Bulldog in Britain. Oh my
Yeah,
god,
and they got
for the European
nuclear
champion.
heat because of it.
Holy shit. One-time tag team champion with Triple H, 5-time world tag team champion with 2 of those times with Diesel, 1 time with Steve Austin. I forgot he fucking won that with
Yeah.
Steve Austin. 1 time with Cena, 1 time with Triple H, 2-time Royal Rumble winner, first ever Grand Slam champion, the 4th Triple Crown champion, and 15-time Slammy Award winner if you care, and 2-time WWE Hall of Famer.
If they
And
put the Rockers in the Hall of Fame, he could be 3-time.
And to Dave Meltzer, worst match of the year in 2018 with a Triple H and the Brothers
It don't
Destruction.
count.
Yeah, that doesn't count. We don't count that,
And,
you know.
I will say this: like that match did hurt his legacy, but I think people just
Didn't.
really choose to forget, right? Like
Yeah,
they don't even consider it a Shawn Michaels match.
it's like not canon. That's what most Saudi Arabia shows are. But nowadays, I
It's
count
getting
them canon.
legit.
It's getting
The
legit.
Night
It's
of
getting
Champions
better.
is tomorrow morning or 1 p.m. We're
Yeah.
recording this before Night of Champions, so we don't know the results yet.
Yeah, but yeah, I feel like we love you, Sean. I
That's
want to
our
meet you one day.
superstar. Honestly,
wanna
right?
meet you.
We should go down Performance Center.
Yeah, and he's just going to degrade us. Yeah,
Just
she's gonna
degrade
be like, fuck yeah.
Well,
But
that was our
anyways,
superstar showcase for Shawn Michaels, the Heartbreak Kid, Mr. WrestleMania, the Showstopper.
tell us
Just
down
like you boy.
below what superstar showcases you want to see next, or if you're
Yeah.
Spotify, I don't know, fucking email us or some shit.
Well, on
Fax
Spotify
us.
they have the Q&A option, so you can
Oh yeah,
send in a question or an answer. Well, answer it, or just send in what suggestion. But
yeah.
please remember to rate us 5 stars on Spotify, like and subscribe to the YouTube channel.
Superstar showcase with Omos.
With oh my, yes,
Fucking so much we could do there. But anyways, thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening. Like, comment, subscribe, follow, Spotify, Doom, boom, boom, boom. Stay restless.
stay restless.